What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Shout out to QuestX and Ticket TV for their videos talking about the Walt, Clyde, Frazier, LeBron James controversy, even though really no controversy. And I heard what Walt Frazier had to say about LeBron James, and I looked at the different sports programs that are out there and what they had to say about it. And even though I don't usually agree with Max Kellerman on a lot of shit, man, I think Max Kellerman was dead on about how he viewed the situation. First of all, Walt Clyde Frazier was talking about, as Max Kellerman said, the optics, like how it looked, and how lately, if you look at LeBron James, you go back to the game where the load management, LeBron laughing on the bench about whatever Tyronn Lue was talking about, and then you had LeBron James sitting on the end of the bench, and I already saw Bronsexuals saying, well, LeBron always sit on the end of the bench and what have you. It just fits into the narrative that LeBron James has been disengaged, even maybe even perhaps non-committal about a lot of different things, not vocal. I remember when he had his 18 game stint where he was out with injury, he really wasn't saying shit. He was speaking through his agent, Rich Paul. We had to go through rumors as far as his progress, when he was going to come back. People were guesstimating when he was going to come back. This is a guy who, just before he got injured, was proclaiming himself the all-time GOAT when the Lakers were 4th seed. Then when shit got bad, LeBron became passive, maybe even perhaps passive-aggressive, solemn, quiet, whatever. And to Walt Frazier's point, I do think LeBron James has a history of being a bad leader. And I think that Walt Clyde Frazier has the clout to call something like that out because of his resume, because of the player that he was. I think Walt Clyde Frazier is arguably a top 10 all-time point guard, a 2-time champion. And unlike some players, Walt Clyde Frazier was money. He was clutch. If it were not for his clutch performances, the New York Knicks would have no NBA championships. Not to say that he was, the lone star. Those teams were great. They had Willis Reed. Excuse me. They had Willis Reed. They had Dave DeBusschere. They had Earl the Pearl Monroe. They had a young hippie Phil Jackson coming off the bench. All right. Later on, I think they had Jerry Lucas, Bill Bradley. So, those were great Knick teams. Um, I remember Wilt Chamberlain said that he thought that those Knicks teams were the actual great. He said they weren't the most talented team that he ever witnessed or saw, but he said for the true definition of team, selflessness, he thought that the Knicks were the greatest team as far as cogs working together for a common goal. So Walt Clyde Frazier knows a thing about leadership, team work, and selflessness, and being a great teammate. And in many ways, LeBron James does fit that narrative, man. He fits that category. First of all, LeBron James quits. Leaders don't quit on their teams. They work with what they have to work with and do the best they can. Hate to keep bringing his name up, but Kobe Bryant. Yeah, Kobe Bryant one time I remember got frustrated and I think on a radio station he did ask the Lakers to trade him. Okay, but he didn't. He didn't leave. He stayed with the organization. That was an ultimatum type situation where Kobe Bryant had got fed up with playing with mediocre talent, and ultimately he wanted to play on a championship contending team. But this was after several seasons of playing on mediocre teams with mediocre talent around him. While this guy having to average 35, 40 points per game just to get the Lakers into the playoffs. And he was tired of that because that's not winning basketball, which is why Kobe Bryant said what he said to James Harden recently. Okay. Um, but like I said, LeBron James has quit on his team numerous times. He quit on the Cleveland Cavaliers the first time after 2010 playoffs when Boston eliminated them. Okay, he basically quit on Miami when he saw the writing on the wall. Dwayne Wade was getting older. He could see that team was nearing its run as far as being a playoff championship caliber team, and he quit on the Cavaliers. We all saw it after that 51-point game, and J.R. Smith did what he did. Now, don't get me wrong, J.R. Smith is a knucklehead. Uh, but LeBron James, we could see it with his body language. We watched him time and time again. He becomes disengaged. He draws within himself, and then he just sort of kind of pads his numbers and gets his 25 to 30 points, uh, his 8 rebounds, his 7 or 8 assists. So on the stat sheet, the casuals, the Bronsexuals can say, "Oh man, this guy's great. Look at his numbers he's putting up." What are people talking about? Well, as Bruce Blitz said recently, and he's 100% correct, LeBron James can put up great numbers. He's putting up, I think, this year like maybe 27, 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. But oftentimes, they don't feel like they're impactful points. They don't feel like they're the points and rebounds and assists that he gets. They don't seem like they really have a strong impact on the overall income outcome and the overall flow of the game, if that, for lack of a better term. All right. So yes, LeBron James does lack leadership. We've all been saying this for years. Walt Frazier is just stating the obvious. And also, the people out there that are saying stupid shit like, well, Walt Frazier is only, hating on LeBron because he's jealous. Or, LeBron, 10 times the player that Walt Frazier was. First of all, he's not 10 times the player that Walt Frazier was. You don't know who the fuck Walt Clyde Frazier was. Okay? Um, Second of all, Walt Frazier is a man that has been a true ambassador to the NBA. One of the classiest players and one of the most respected players. Okay? Unlike some guys who have had a history of teammates having sex with his mother, all right, and the whole locker room snickering about it behind his back until game 5 of a playoff series. And then when you find out, you check out mentally and quit on your team. Now, I'd be pissed off too, all right? Um, but that just goes to show you the lack of respect that the player that many people are saying that is the all-time greatest player, that's the lack of respect that he has. You think anybody would pull some shit like that with Shaquille O'Neal's mother, or Kobe's mother, or Jordan's mother, or Bird's mother, or Magic's mother? There'd be bodies buried somewhere. But Walt Frazier, like Questek said, can say whatever the hell he wants to say. He deserves that right. He's earned that right. And if you can't watch this season and see that LeBron James' heart is not totally into this situation, he sort of distanced himself from his teammates, and he's part of the problem. He doesn't show leadership when it comes to executing down the stretch. He hasn't taken the mantle of this team this season. He hasn't even stepped up on defense consistently. He hasn't stepped up on defense at all. All right. He's not a leader. And I think one of the first persons that I've ever heard say that on a consistent basis, and this was when everybody was, in love with LeBron James, is Corey the Truth. And I give him credit on that. Uh, everything that he was saying back then, people were, including myself, when I used to like LeBron James a lot, I used to think he was a hater. But being on a team where supposedly this guy who supposedly makes everybody around him better, that myth has been exposed. Okay. LeBron James is a guy who is he's a great player, but I'm now starting to believe even more so now, and I feel more confident taking him out of my top 10 list. I think he's an elite player, but one of the true great, iconic superstar players, I don't think he's quite there. I kind of look at LeBron as the Karl Malone of small forwards, but playing in a weaker era. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure Karl Malone would have 2 NBA championships if it wasn't for Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And his legacy would be even greater. Probably a top 10 all-time player. That's what I think, at least, man. Tell me what you guys think.